Good morning. Let's take a look at a day yesterday full of potential big returns. So let's have a look at some of the marginal liability losses, which could have been massive returns. It's all dependent on when you've greened up, of course, as well. We'll get to with Harrogate and Blackpool. In the Premier League yesterday, we did take on Manchester City in the expectation of them struggling to score 2 goals away from home. The only side they've scored 2 goals against was Wolves, bottom of the league. Fulham at home, far more robust. What a match. We were very, very unlucky to be on the losing end of a side scoring 4 goals. There were ample opportunities throughout to negate this liability, particularly when we got to the 4-5. Actually saw a green screen profit there. What a humdinger of a match. The match I alluded to earlier on, I'm trying to get it up here, Harrogate and Blackpool, we got really good run for our money. A 3-0 lead for Harrogate early on is to be targeted. So here we have a odds-on favourite away from home in the EFL Trophy. To keep your liabilities low, we've got a 17th minute 3-0 lead. Now, that is such a comprehensive early lead that the odds for Harrogate are going to be extremely low. The odds for Blackpool are going to be extremely high. Lay it. Liability will cost you tuppence halfpenny, and you'll get an extremely good run for your money. We were that close to a profit, but yet again, there was another green screen which appeared at 3-2. So it's all dependent here on when or if you cash out. You could have made a really decent return relative to your risk here at 3-2. But we don't want to give you that, as Chris Tarrant would say. 3-2, 73rd minute. That's, well, for any reasonable fellow, that's your exit point. I was waiting for the 3-3, of course. Look at weighing up. You're about 20 minutes to go. You've got a Blackpool side utterly dominating the second half. This was a story of 2 halves. 0.08 expected goals for Harrogate, 1.76 for Blackpool. So they did deliver on their expected goals. They just couldn't cross the line with that 3rd goal. But still, there is an exit point for profit. That's something you have to understand. I can't tell you when to exit, I'm afraid. That's up to you. Some members will exit at the reasonable green. Others will note the risk, £4, and the potential return with 20 minutes to go, and say £46, 20 minutes to go, dominating the second half. 0.08 expected goals for Harrogate. Are they really going to get another? Well, alas, they did. Salford and Rotherham. Well, howling mad Murdoch, you'd call me. It's 2-5 to Rotherham. I laid them at 1.05, back Salford at 110. Why? Salford's in-play stats were amazing. Their expected goals were amazing, and they did at 2-2. They did, at 2-3 to Rotherham. They did make it 3-3, but that goal didn't stick. Well worth a punt. EFL Trophy again. Home side Salford. Just didn't quite cross the line there. Elsewhere yesterday, a couple of opportunities to lay the draw at half time if you fancied it in the Premier League. I was a little tentative with that. But Newcastle yet again scoring 2 goals at home for the 3rd consecutive match. But on this occasion, it didn't turn into a win. One match I was very, very disappointed I didn't play. I told you Ipswich are scoring away goals. That's why I do the research, and I should have laid Blackburn late on. Why? Because we're dealing with low liabilities yesterday. Why not lay Blackburn late on? Ipswich have that record of scoring away from home, and we really could have cleaned up. Look at the timing of the Tractor Boys' goal. 94th minute. You'd have stuck, if you'd have done this, you'd have stuck a Gelly on your Christmas card list. That is for sure. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. You laid the draw second half. You would have got a decent return there, as the odds-on favourite at home did score. The market is aware that Atletico Madrid, if they are to lose matches, they're going to lose them away from home. It's as simple as that. Another match I gave you a shout about. I hope you found it, because my pronunciation was a little bit butchered. Naval Carnero, 2-0 up against Getafe from the Spanish La Liga in the Copa del Rey. Well worth laying. Naval Carnero, I've never heard of them. Getafe, strong defensive unit, at home at least, in the Primera Division. And a great fight back from Getafe. 2-0 down. An own goal. Collado, I'll take that all day long. And Martin with an 88th minute, 2-2. Stick him on your Christmas card list if you laid Naval Carnero. I don't even know what league Naval Carnero are in. The Secunda RFEF Group 5. There we go. So really, the gap between both teams is extreme. This is a Primera Liga side. Well worth doing, and I really hope you followed up. I gave it a good shout on Telegram for you. So it really was a day of what might have been, or for those of you a little bit cautious, getting a reasonable green and cashing out, you'd have made a decent return there. And if you followed my tentative lay the draws in the Premier League, that would have come in as well, but it was by no means a strong shout. Let's have a look at today's trading angles, and again, it's a full coupon in the Premier League today. Look at Fulham, Manchester City. That's the type of scoreline we might be seeing this winter. Well, odds-on favourites at home are always, or usually, a trader's friend. So I would certainly be taking a look at Sturm Graz against Swarovski Tirol at 7:30 tonight. Good odds, normally indicative of at least not losing if the opponent scores first. The Danish Landspokal Cup, FC Copenhagen, odds on away from home, might get us a little bit of value. It's whether they're up for the cup or not. There's no Champions League distractions for them, and likely the Danish Superliga is going to be having a rest over the winter. Vejle, as you know, are my usual go-to for over 2.5 goals, at least in the Superliga. Are they going to continue that excellent record in the Landspokal Cup? Arsenal and Brentford, well, you know the drill. It is a London derby. So on that basis, it could be tougher for the Arse than it usually would be. 1.36 is emphatic home form. That's probably down to the fact sides are having trouble scoring against Arsenal. They're exceptional expected goals against, which we will probably see in the XG section. Brighton and Aston Villa is a bit tougher to call. Why? Because these two are in electric form at the moment. Well, let's look at all the superlatives. Brighton, unbeaten at home, 3 consecutive home wins, scoring 2 goals. 3 clean sheets in 4, 2 goals scored in 5 of the last 6. Beat second and third already this season. Aston Villa, 7 wins and a loss v Liverpool recently. Did huff and puff against Wolves, but that was down to Rob Edwards keeping Wolves' defence very, very tight. But Wolves just keep cocking it up after the 60th minute. Losses away came against Brentford and Liverpool, so they are vulnerable a little bit. But this is a top 5 clash, hence the odds. And the form for both of these two is exceptional. Where is the weakness? That's the question. It's a very, very tough match to pick a winner, isn't it? Burnley and Crystal Palace. It should be an easier encounter to pick a winner. Let's take a look at some of the form lines. Well, 4 consecutive defeats for Burnley and only tend to beat fellow relegation fodder sides at home. Have trouble actually scoring against the other side, so this could be a real problem for Burnley this evening. Crystal Palace have started picking up clean sheets as well. 3 clean sheets in 4 matches, so it does suggest if Palace score, Burnley might not be able to respond. This is another Jekyll and Hyde side. You saw I absolutely nailed the Burnley correct score at the weekend, 3-1. Absolutely nailed it to a T. But at home, they're not the same animal as they are away. So I think they're going to be a little concerning. A bit like West Ham at home, just trouble scoring. Talking of trouble scoring, you've already got the blueprint for Wolves, haven't you? But this is a dangerous match to overemphasise Wolves' problems because they do have a new manager. Nottingham Forest also have a new manager, but the market is giving Wolves a chance here. Do note that 2.3 for the favourite. Wolves under Rob Edwards, getting to about the 60th minute. They're going to get 0-0 at half time. They're going to be aiming for that. And they get to about the 60th minute onwards, and then they capitulate. That's the Rob Edwards blueprint at the moment. It is very troubling. On the improve, though, really, defensively. But you can see this is under Rob Edwards. The first match, Wolves against Crystal Palace. 63rd minute. Wolves against Aston Villa. 67th minute. Can they improve? They are on the slight improve. Nottingham Forest, as we know, really a lot better under Sean Dyche, aren't they? And he has unlocked 2 goals in them. So it's going to be a fascinating match. You might want to lay over 0.5 goals at the start of this match in the expectation that this will be another Rob Edwards 0-0 at half time. Can they solve the scoring? Because if they can solve the scoring, they can hopefully dig their feet in and get another clean sheet. They only have to last 23 more minutes than they did against Aston Villa, and they will be right as rain. But it looks like Championship is awaiting the Wolves. Leeds and Chelsea. Let's have a look at this one. 6 losses in 7 for Leeds. They are scoring and conceding in 7 of the last 9 matches. And Leeds matches do tend to see at least a goal before half-time. So there's plenty of ammunition to go to war with Leeds this evening. One of those sides, like Manchester City, who should relish this winter break and the extreme fixture congestion. They do. Let's put it this way. They can field a completely different first 11 in Europe than they do in the Premier League. 3 consecutive away wins without conceding is a concern for Leeds United. That's for sure. Chelsea do look at a little bit of value here today, don't they, at 1.9, should those form lines continue. Liverpool against Sunderland, again, 1.36 last week, got a 0-2 win, and everybody is wetting themselves that the £125 million man actually scored a goal. Ooh, get out the party poppers. Wow. 125 million man scores a goal. Fantastic stuff. Sunderland, though, cannot be misunderestimated, as George W. Bush would have said. Burnley, Manchester United and Fulham are the only teams to have beaten Sunderland this season. And those defeats did come away from home. And all of those defeats, Sunderland failed to score. Liverpool did actually keep a clean sheet in the last match. That is an extreme rarity for them. So an interesting and well-poised match. I still couldn't trust Liverpool more than I could throw them. So Sunderland, if they can score a goal, that could be the death knell for Liverpool this evening. But similar odds last week, or similar odds last match for Liverpool, and they did get the result. Well, you saw my approach to the Cup yesterday, and I do apologise for not getting the Leipzig match to you quickly enough. While I got onto Telegram, they did equalise against Magdeburg. I hope you spotted that yourself. Exceptional home form. We just have to trust that these sides are actually up for the cup, because we've got a whole raft of interesting teams this evening. Stuttgart, I love. Really effective. Full of goals as well. So watch out for them. We did actually lay the late draw in the Stuttgart match against Hamburger, didn't we, at the weekend? And Hamburger scored. That's the beauty of a neutral play. But Stuttgart did come from behind in that match. Freiburg, odds on at home against a lower tier Darmstadt. I don't know if they're in the Bundesliga 2 or Bundesliga 3. Hamburger, I would be tentative here. If I was a Hamburger manager, you've spent a lot of time in the Bundesliga 2. You don't want to be blowing your chance of staying up in the Bundesliga with some ridiculous cup run that means nothing. So that is a dangerous match for me. But they did get that win at the weekend against Stuttgart with a very, very late goal. So maybe that momentum will take them into this against Holstein Kiel. Union Berlin, Bundesliga against Bayern Munich, Bundesliga. Watch out for team changes for Bayern Munich. That said, they do have a winter break, so it's not necessarily going to be troubling them. Looking at Italian Coppa Italia, again, play it by ear. Obvious plays. Cagliari can be very competitive and make things tough. It's all simply whether these teams are up for it or not. And I've done some research for the SPL today as well, but we're getting a bit deep into the video. The research is there for members. I will leave that for members only. There's some really good angles in today as well. Aberdeen have suddenly turned things around, getting 1-0 wins. Celtic should do the number. Hearts have already beaten Kilmarnock 3-0 this season. Rangers are going to have a tougher encounter against the Dundee United, who can not park the bus, but be very competitive at home. I've done the research for members only. Spanish La Liga, Atletico Bilbao against Real Madrid. It's got a touch of the derby-itis about it. 1.73 favourite, Real Madrid. Atletico Bilbao are totally unreadable. They've got such potential, but they just keep cocking it up. And as with Getafe yesterday, we're going to get mostly odds-on favourites from La Liga away from home. Just keep an eye. We might see something like Antonioni. Sounds like an Italian chef. If they take a 2-0 lead, like the side against Getafe did, that could be our angle in for a short odds lay. Just finish this video now with a look at some of the XG from the Premier League. This is the mountain Brentford have to climb. 0.66 XG away for Arsenal. It's quite exceptional. They do have a goal habit though, Brentford, and it is a London derby, but that is a tricky one. Having said that, Chelsea did score against the Arse as well for a 1-1 in another London derby last match. Aston Villa's expected goals is slightly blunted because they failed to score in quite a few of their opening matches of the season, but now they are really setting it all alight. So I wouldn't take that to heart. Do note Brighton and Hove Albion's 1.52. This is a clash of two very, very informed sides, making it a very difficult match for me to unpack. Therein lies Burnley's problem. Not creating enough chances for that single goal and conceding or giving sides the opportunity to score 2 goals or more. That spells disaster. Potential for Chelsea to score 2 goals today against Leeds, 1.57 XG. Leeds, 1.45 XG against. It's very similar, which means Chelsea might have a shot at 2 goals today. The Black Cats look a little bit blunted, 0.92 XG. If Liverpool are on form, they will be looking at 1 goal at least, 2 goals at their best. So that's it from me today. I will see you members from 5 p.m. onwards. Have a great day.